you're just coming in, you're a bit of a false house. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Holly Chisholm. I'm a program coordinator with Salesforce. And welcome to our first TecSocial of 2020. I think we're kicking it off in a great way. So I just want to welcome Harpreet Singh, who's recently moved here to Sydney from Seattle. He's going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to work there and what his experience has been. So over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harpreet Singh. Harpreet is my first name, Singh is my last name. So, the objective of today's presentation is just to share my experiences, how I've worked so far, what companies, and what I've learned there. And I intend to share my experiences with you, and I hope you get some benefit. So these are the two objectives I would say for today, as we're not driven by agenda. So this is very broad conversation of the information sharing that we'll do today. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so here are some names on the slide. So what does this invoke in terms of if I think if I ask you that these, what do you think about these? Like, what is the first word that will come to your mind?
Technology.
Technology. Fortune 500. Consumer oriented. Okay. Anyone else?
Internet.
Innovation, internet. Cool. So,
Nestle's the outlier in that group.
yeah, okay. So, first four are the companies which I work for, and I was fortunate to work for between India and US before moving to Cape Island. And I would say these two things which I found as a commonality across them. Someone said customer, but customer is king, but product is key. So all of these companies, I think, are very much focused on the customer as well as the offering. So it's two-way route. So if whatever stage of your life you are in terms of service or business or whatever you're doing, the key is that to understand that piece of who's your customer, right? And what is your offering? Because that is something wherein you will drive the value. Because customer is king in isolation would mean nothing. It means a lot to lot many people, but in isolation it doesn't mean something. But you have to combine it with the product that you're selling or you're making the customer in mind. So that's it. That's my learning or my take on this. Okay, so now moving forward to what I've done at Amazon and how do I see Amazon, because that represents roughly 40% of my career of 16 years. I spent 7 years there between India and US. So I would start with something. What is the Amazon's fundamental approach to growth? Because growth is something that every business is looking for, and every individual also is focused on how can I grow, how can I make more money, how can I, reach out to more customers. So that is what essentially everyone is trying to do. So I'll start with something. This was drawn by Jeff Bezos on a paper napkin in late 90s, I would say. Okay. So what does this represent? So he put the growth in the center. And to simplify it for you, I've broken it down into three pieces. One is inputs, and one is outputs, and what is the impact? So input is essentially he has an e-commerce website where he's selling books. So there are sellers, there's a selection, and there is a customer experience. So all these three things essentially drive traffic, right? More sellers you have, people will come in for more to buy from those sellers because they fuel the selection, and then it fuels the customer experience, right? So the output is growth. But essentially, what if he has focused on these inputs, essentially he is driving the cost structure, which enables lower price and which enables better experience for the customer. So this was his approach to growth in late 90s. So, so this is what he thought. So once this was the thought process of growth, but how do you scale this when you make the organization large? When your organization grows beyond 100 people, how do you do that? Like, because that's the next step. You have a great idea, you have perfect growth plan, but you can't do everything by yourself. So that's why it's very important for you to define the guardrails or the principles. So that's where I think he kind of iterated the Amazon principles over the years. And I'm listing them here for now, but I'll not speak on all of them, but I would essentially figure out or focus on a couple of them. So customer obsession. If you read through customer obsession, there are three key things that come out of it. One is, what is the focus on customer, working backwards, customer trust, and they obsess over customers over the competition. So that is what the Amazon customer obsession leader talks about. And to give an example, even till today, Jeff Bezos likes to keep one chair empty in the meeting room, and that empty chair is for the customer. So he wants to think that what are we doing for that empty chair. So that's the thought process. That's an anecdote I'm providing to you to create more context how the company is focused on that. Second bit is on the ownership and invent and simplify. So ownership and invent and simplify, I would say, give an example of AWS. So anyone in the room would know that how AWS was built. Okay, so AWS was not built as a service; it is an intent of service that to offer to the customer. So how it was built? Because Amazon was scaling and they were getting a lot of orders, so they needed servers. So they bought servers, on which site was running, right? But due to seasonal cyclical graph of usage, of server usage, they had an ample amount of server storage which was unused. Like, for example, if they would, in Q4, they will at 80% of capacity. In Q1, they will be at 50% or 30%, depending on what time and month of the year. So they took that, and the person who led that project was Andy Jassy, right? So who is now CEO for AWS. So again, coming back to the ownership and invent and simplify. So these are the principles that are driven within the company, and these are being talked about throughout. It's like this is like in day in day out, you would hear people saying and talking about this. So this is the next slide where I'm just highlighting all the 40 leadership principles. But again, here I would talk about two. First one is the hire and develop the best. So as a people's manager, one of the things that we were pushed on was when you're hiring a person, one, he has to fit into the job description or whatever we are trying to do with that person. Second thing, which was very critical, was is that person raising the bar by 50% of the existing employees or not? So that thought process really kind of made the flywheel run faster in terms of that now the people who are coming are smarter than the people who are already there. So everyone improves. So that is another anecdote. Another thing I want to pick on is bias for action. And one of the things which is Jeff quotes quite often is that for business, speed matters, like how fast you can make decisions. So that's very important. So one of the things which he gives employees to think about is when you're making a decision, is this a one-way door or two-way door? So if it's a one-way door, that needs more investigation. Like if you won't be able to reverse the thing. If it's a two-way door, go for it. Let's, for example, an example of two-way door could be I'm making a change on the website and it impacts the customer experience, but if it doesn't work, I can reverse it. But if I'm making a negotiation call with a customer, there I might want to go slow because if it's an important customer who is generating 40% of revenue for me, I might want to go slower and see how can I keep it intact. So these are the two examples, and these are available online for anyone to read through. Okay, so this is again, in my opinion, how I've concised it of all these 14. This is what I think are very important. So starting with the first one, work backward for the customer. So whatever product you have, if you are not thinking about the customer. So earlier, if I go 40 or 50 years ago, people would build products and then go to market and then try to sell it. That's a, that thing is reversing now. Now we start with the product which customer wants. You want customization. You have app customization. You have product customization. It's happening everywhere. So one of the questions which is supposed to be answered in all of the proposals or business leadership reviews, that how are we addressing a customer need? So that is very important piece of the information when you go to reviews. Second is speed. And then in this, in my opinion, this is fail fast. So for example, employees are generally expected to fail fast because it gets into two things. One, either you are iterating or improving the product offering, or you are moving on. You're not investing time on that. So that's very important. And third is focus on long term. So the strong emphasis is laid on what is there for the ROI of this project. Typically, I work through Kindle in India, and I was surprised to see when I saw the finances for the first time that they were okay selling a product on a loss in anticipation of a 7-year return on investment. So which was very different than my previous organization like Samsung, where they would say it's a 3-year turnaround time period or stuff like that. So again, an example of how Amazon thinks about long term. So if you see, a black line is the revenue, which let's say started in 97 and now it's at roughly 280 billion. The profit is only 11, and that's also in 2019. And you see, until 2016 or 2017, they were not focusing on profit. They were focusing on throwing back money into the business and thinking more about how they can improve their product offering, how they can do better for the customer. It's only, and this majorly is part of AWS success. So we started pulling in more profit than the retail side. Okay, so some of the codes that are being actively used in Amazon and daily on day-to-day basis. It's still day one. So I'll not go through all, but still day one is very popular among Amazon employees because they think that even if they have achieved super success or super growth in terms of revenue or in terms of customer experience, they like to think that it's still day one, and they want to improve on the customer experience. So that's they want to make you grounded. You don't think that if you have achieved something, you can't do better than that. So that's some of the codes. Okay, so having spoken a bit about Amazon, so let's start with some fun fact questions. So what are the number of monthly visitors on Amazon.com? Any guesses? Okay, 200 million. Okay. So number of Prime members in US.
50 million.
There you go. Which is so that represents roughly 57% of your shoppers. Then what is the spend of a Prime member versus a non-Prime member. And this is a very interesting data point because Prime member, why Prime program is so successful is one of this reason that roughly double. It's easy, and moreover, it's engaging, right? Because you are getting delivery, you're getting a Prime video, blah blah blah. So there are a lot of stuff. So that's why customers are more engagement. So this is a very good example of customer engagement. So what is the sales contribution of a third-party seller on .com? Any guess? It's 50%. So third-party sellers who sell on Amazon, they contribute to 50% of the revenue. Just again, going back to tying this back to the initial slides of how they are thinking about sellers expanding this direction. Again that even back to the previous slide. Number of sellers on Amazon.com, 1 million sellers. Most popular product category on Amazon. There you go. Given more informed. So, what is the most common factor for people to visit Amazon.com and shop? There you go. What is the AWS revenue?
Did you remember that previous slide about 11 billion?
No. It's 40, that's a profit. So 44 billion. It's still very small part of the organization. Like if I look at overall sales, it is still very small but very profitable. Okay, so my learning and few examples. So I would say I would bucket it into three pieces. One is ownership, one is persistence, and one is customer focus. Because I think all three are relevant even today, relevant 15 years ago. But whatever role or whatever company you join, I think these kind of help me to grow the business or do well there. So, quick example for you guys. When I launched Kindle in India, challenges were the product was new, there was no awareness. How did I use? What was my approach? So my approach was to create a use case. I went to the best retailer of the country, spent time there. It took me 6 to 8 months to get into the door. Once I created that use case, then helped me sell across 6 different channels. And then results were like, initially in the first year, I think we did only 2 million, and by the third year, before I moved to US, we were at 120 million plus. So customer first example. So when I moved to US, I took a role wherein I was doing partnerships with the banks, international banks, in Latin America and Middle East region. And specifically in Latin America, my challenge was how do I get more customers who are shopping on .com. So in Chile, I found out that one of the key factors that we were missing on was that when we ship products from Amazon.com to Hong Kong, customers pay $7. Whereas when we were shipping to Latin America, we were charging roughly $21. So this was my analysis, and when I presented this, we were able to get new logistic partners, and that helped us reduce by roughly got to 50% down, and we were at $11. And business is right. Ownership. So this is back in Samsung days. So this is one of the store picture. So I was responsible for defining the customer experience in the store. So if you look at here, this part, so this is the store entrance wherein a TV was kept. My job was how should I increase the brand presence in the store. This is good. This is not bad. But I was paying a premium for that, but no sense of what is the investment or return on investment. This is the prime spot, right? So you will pay more money for this. But I didn't find it to be very lucrative. What I did was I analyzed what is the customer behavior, how the customer shops. So when the customer goes into the shop, where does he spend his time? Where is he making a purchase decision? So with all of that data, I was able to do wall plus a Samsung wall, wherein customer could immediately do a comparison, and also our brand recall was more stronger. This resulted in roughly 18 to 30% increase in sales for those stores and create stronger brand awareness. So I'm toward the end of the presentation, having shared my learnings and my experience with you. I would like to say, while you do all of that, don't forget to have fun, right? So, so this is my colleague in Seattle, and he was running the marketing campaign for me on Amazon.com, and so he drove a Yamaha scooter with a cape on it. So I felt him. So, so, so I just put in for the reference that, while we did other stuff, serious stuff, don't really forget to, have fun at the end of the day, so that, you should feel up. Yeah, so that brings me to end of the presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And
Thank you for having me.
oh, thank you.
This is some of our new